It was as a result of looking at paintings like this that I first became interested in Eastern philosophy. That was many years ago, when I was a boy, only about 14 years old. And the thing that grasped me and excited me about this vision of the world was the astonishing sympathy and feeling for the world of nature. Think, for example, of a painting like this, which is called Mountain After Rain. A painting by the Chinese artist Gao Kokung, showing the mist and clouds drifting away after a wet night of pouring rain. And it's fascinating for us to think that pictures of this kind are not what we would call just landscape paintings. They are also icons. That is to say, they are a religious and philosophical kind of painting. We are used, of course, in thinking of iconographic or religious paintings, of thinking of pictures of human figures, of angels and saints and divine beings. But when the mind of the Chinese expresses its religious feeling, it expresses it in the objects of nature. And their feeling for nature is in one very important respect strangely different from ours. And that is as a result of the sensation that the human being is not someone who stands apart from nature and looks at it from an entirely outside position. But the human being has himself the feeling of belonging right in nature. And this is very startlingly illustrated. If you look at another painting, this one by the great Song Dynasty painter Ma Yuan, called Poet Drinking by Moonlight. You would think it was just a landscape painting and puzzle, find the poet. But if you look very closely in the bottom part of the painting, you will see him right there, drinking a cup of wine, sitting at a table with his boy attendant beside him. I suppose that's the equivalent of what would be a graduate student for a professor of English literature in these days. But that tiny man lost in the landscape is representative and symbolic of the whole attitude of the Chinese mind and of Chinese philosophy to the harmony of man and nature. Man not dominating nature, but fitting into it and feeling perfectly at home. But you know, our attitude is very strangely different. And we constantly use a phrase which in the ears of Chinese people sounds very peculiar indeed. We speak constantly of the conquest of nature, the conquest of space, the conquest of mountains like Everest. And they would say to us, well, what's the matter with you? Why must you be in such a fight all the time with your environment? Aren't you grateful to the mountain that it itself lifted you up when you got to the top of it? Aren't you grateful to space that it opens itself out for you so that you can travel through it? Why do you think all the time of getting into a fight with it? But that is indeed, isn't it, our dominant feeling.